This happened last summer during a road trip. I was going out west to California with my friend Ray to go to LA and visit a friend of ours from high school who lived out there. We had been driving for almost 2 days at this point and had just made it into California. We had stopped at many places along the way for food, hotels, and lots of cool sights to see. It was about 6 p.m. at this time, and we had stopped in a town that had almost everything, like stores and restaurants. We stopped at a Target there to get some things. I had been driving for the last few hours, and as we got out of the car, I felt my pocket for my phone, and when I did, I realized it wasn't there. I expected it to have fallen out of my pocket on the seat or between the seat, but I couldn't find it there when I looked. I began to look all around the car, and I couldn't seem to find it anywhere. Ray stopped to help me look, and before long we were turning the car upside down looking for my phone. I hadn't remembered using it in a while, mostly because I had been driving and Ray had been looking up stuff on his phone. I started to panic because we had stopped at so many places and I had no idea where it was. I knew I had used my phone earlier that day, but I couldn't remember exactly what time. We had a lot of stuff in our car, so we got back inside and Ray decided to call my phone, hoping that it was still hidden somewhere. We shut the doors so it would be quiet, and as Ray called me, we listened closely for a ring to come from somewhere inside the car. As the call was made, my heart dropped as I didn't hear any sound at all coming from inside the car. I feared the worst, but Ray said maybe my phone was just dead and that's why it wasn't ringing. But just then, something unexpected happened. Someone answered my phone. We were so shocked that we didn't know what to do or say for a second. Ray said hello eventually, but there was silence on the other end. Ray explained that I had lost my phone, and whoever this was who had answered it had my phone. Still, there was no response. Then, an almost whispered voice on the other end said, "I can see you." We thought this had to be a prank, but also didn't really know how to respond to this. The voice once again said that they could see us. Then they told us how we were sitting in the Target parking lot and described the kind of car that we were in. Suddenly, we both got very creeped out. We asked who this was, but they didn't answer. I asked if I could please have my phone back, but after that, whoever was on the other end hung up on us. Ray and I were both really creeped out, and it was pretty obvious at this point I wasn't going to get my phone back, so we both decided to just leave and we'd stop someplace else. We drove away, but about a half hour later, as we were driving down the road, Ray got a call on his phone. It said it was from me, and when he answered it, he put the phone on speaker. We heard the same voice from before on the phone again, and they said once more that they could see us, and then hung up before we had a chance to respond. We kept driving and didn't stop for about another hour. We were looking over our shoulders for the rest of the day, but nothing else strange like that ended up happening. I ended up getting a new cell phone once we got to LA, because my other one was getting kind of old anyways. But there's more to the story. About a month later, after we had returned from California and I was back home, I got a package in the mail. Inside of it was my old phone with a piece of paper attached to it which read, "I don't need this anymore. Thanks for the information." This was really creepy. How did they know my address? And how did they know where Ray and I were driving? I had so many questions and was kind of worried for a few weeks after that, but nothing else ever happened since. Maybe it was just some sort of a prank, but either way, it was pretty creepy. A couple of months ago, I had an experience where I lost my phone. It was during one night when I was at the grocery store like any other. I left my car to go into the store, but about 10 minutes later, when I wanted to use my phone, I realized that it wasn't in my pocket. I realized I had probably forgot it in the car where I had it earlier, so I walked out to the car, but when I did, I couldn't find it. My fear was that my phone fell out of my pocket as I left the car, and someone else took it, because it wasn't anywhere on the ground that I could see. I went home that night and decided to use the Find My iPhone app that I had on my iPad. This was an app that would allow me to see the location of my iPhone if it was lost. I opened up the app to find the location of my phone, but when it showed the location that it was at, it surprised me. It appeared that the phone was at my house. I was so confused because I knew I had my phone in my car earlier, but when I got to the grocery store, I suddenly didn't have it. I really didn't think my phone was in my house, but I decided to look around because according to my Find My iPhone app, it was at my house. After searching all over the place in every possible location I could think of, I determined that it definitely wasn't there. I guess the Find My iPhone app must have been broken or something. But the next day, I decided to try it again. This time when I went on it though, it showed my iPhone was on the other side of town. It was about 15 miles away and wasn't even near the grocery store that I had originally thought I had lost it at. This was even more confusing to me now. I thought about driving to the location, but I wanted to wait until my friend could go with me. I could still message on my iPad, so I asked my friend Robbie to go with me, and he said he could when he was done with work that night. Several hours later, at about 6 p.m., I was in my living room when I heard the sound of my back door rattling. It sounded like someone was trying to get inside, and I thought maybe it was Robbie, so I walked over to the door. But as soon as I got a look at the back door, I saw a figure of a man much larger than Robbie, and I did not recognize who it was. I didn't get a good look at his face at all, and I darted back out of view of my back door and ran into my bedroom. I took my iPad in there, and I heard whoever was there keep trying to open the door. Then the noise stopped, and it got quiet until I started to hear noises from a back window. I decided to call the police from my iPad and tell them that there was an attempted break-in in my house. I stayed hidden in my bedroom as I waited for the police to arrive. As I was on my iPad, I switched apps to message Robbie what was happening. When I passed the Find My iPhone app, I accidentally opened it back up, and when I did, I saw that my iPhone was now showing that it was back at my house again. That's when my brain connected the dots, and I realized whoever was trying to break into my house must have had my phone. The house got silent again for a while, and eventually the police arrived. When they did, I told them everything I knew. We tracked my iPhone once more to a different location, but this location turned out to just be on the side of a random road, not really near any buildings. I was able to get my phone back, but I never figured out who took it. I've always been an avid hiker, and have gone on literally hundreds of different hiking trails over the last several years. I've explored just about every trail and good place to hike near where I live, and whenever I travel, the first thing I do is look for good trails as well. I really enjoy being out in nature whenever I can, and it makes me feel really good and relaxes me. Anyways, the story I'm telling you occurred about 2 years ago now. I went to a trail near a wooded area which was about 15 minutes away from where I live, really out in the wilderness. There was a hiking path in the area, but I wanted to go off the path a little bit because I had been on the hiking path before. There was some great land in the area, and even though there wasn't an official path in this one spot, there was plenty of space to walk around, and it was kind of an unofficial path. I walked down that ways for a good 30 minutes or so, but then the terrain started to get really rough, and after a while, I wasn't really equipped for it with the shoes that I had on, so I turned back to return to my car. I got back and drove all the way home before realizing that I didn't have my phone on me. I got that terrible feeling you get when you lose your phone, and after looking around in my car, I realized I hadn't remembered using my phone since I had been way out in the woods. I realized that I knew exactly where it probably was. Well, not the exact location, but an estimated area of where it would be. I realized it likely fell out of my pocket as I walked over the rough terrain in the woods. By now it had gotten dark out, and I was a little bit hesitant to go back out there, but I had been out in the woods at night before, and I wasn't scared at all. I hadn't seen anyone else in the park that day either, so I wasn't too concerned anyone would take my phone or anything like that. Like most people, I used my phone for everything, so even though it was nighttime, I decided to drive back and quickly go out to get my phone. I was very confident I would find it, and as I got there and set out to the path again, I couldn't help but feel slightly creeped out entering the woods at night all by myself. I walked on the path to the point that I had gone off of it earlier. I have always been really good with directions and landmarks, so I knew it was the same spot. Then I followed the little unofficial trail until the part with the bumpy terrain to where I expected my phone to be. And as I entered the area, I thought I heard a noise of a tree branch cracking in the distance, maybe 50 feet away. It caused me to pause in my tracks and go silent, but I heard nothing else. As I started to walk again, I heard more noises though. I thought it was some type of animal and looked in the direction. I didn't see anything. I and then heard the noise of walking in the distance again, but it sounded distinctly like a human the way the footsteps were. Still, I knew it was unlikely that anyone would be out here now. I nervously decided to call out hello on the slim chance there was another person out there, but I got no response. I wasn't sure what kind of animal it would be though, and as I slowly walked closer, suddenly I finally saw my phone on the ground. It was such a relief to finally see what I had been looking for. Now I could get out of the woods. I picked it up, and as I did, I started to hear the noises again coming towards me. I just couldn't tell what was making the noises. I looked all around, and finally off in the distance, I thought I saw what appeared to be a person ducked behind a tree. All I really saw was a leg for a second, and that was it, but I decided to get out of there as quickly as I could. I didn't want to run, so I started slowly walking, but it quickly turned into a fast walk, and as I heard noises behind me, I couldn't take it anymore and I turned it into a full sprint. I ran as fast as I could through the woods, hearing some noises behind me as I did. The noises weren't really that close, and I couldn't tell for sure if I was being followed or not, but I was not wasting a second in there longer than I had to. I had my phone, and I was just happy to get out of there. When I finally made it back to my car, I immediately started it up and left. I drove home, and once I got back, I finally was able to respond to some texts that I had gotten and things like that. As I was on my phone, I noticed that the camera app had been opened. I went on it and noticed some photos on my phone that I didn't recognize. There were several pictures taken on my phone during the time that it had been lost in the woods. One appeared to be of the sky, and another couple were of the ground that were blurry. Then I saw one that appeared to be a man, but it was really blurry. I couldn't make out any details of his face with how blurry it was or anything like that, but seeing those photos really gave me the creeps. That woods was really out there in kind of the middle of nowhere, and I can't believe anyone else was out there, much less who would have been on my phone. I'm quite certain whoever took those photos was the person out there in the woods with me.